Hi there, welcome. In this video, I'm going to take you through things that I have done and tried, succeeded and failed at after quitting nursing and deciding to go my own way and try and be an entrepreneur. So, if you are either in between careers or you're thinking about changing careers, or you might want to be an entrepreneur yourself, these are some of the things that I have seen other people do. And so I decided to try them for myself. So, just briefly, before we get into it, I just want to say if you are feeling like the job, whatever you're doing, whether that's nursing or some other career, first off, I am so grateful for nurses and I'm so in awe at everything they do. And I love nurses. I knew even from the get-go that it just was not the career for me, but that was just kind of what I fell into. And it served its purpose for a few years. And then I was just like, this is not for me. And that's okay. So, anyways, but if you're feeling like you're in a career where it's just not for you, you're not alone. I feel like so many people are going through really big transitions in their lives. And that's okay. I feel like we're always pivoting and molding into new beings and just trying different things. And so, if you're in a career or just in a phase of life where you're like, the past however many years has served me well and it's brought me to wherever you are now, but it's just you can't see like a future in it, you're not alone. There's just a lot of that going on, I feel. Okay, so let's get into it. So the very first thing I did after I quit my nursing job was start an Etsy store. I sold print on demand items, which if you're not familiar with what print on demand is, it's or like POD, a lot of people say. um Cats, can you not put your little freaking butt in my face? Yeah, just okay. So, so, um, okay. So I started an Etsy shop from nothing. Like I didn't have like any followers or anything. It's not like I was selling any homemade products before then. I just started it and I started selling print on demand items. So I learned all of that through YouTube tutorials, like people who were also doing print on demand using Etsy and then using Printify as their third party. I seriously learned so much through those YouTube videos. Very thankful. So I started that as my first entrepreneur. So I started that as my first like entrepreneur project because one, it's a very, very low startup cost. Basically, I it takes like I think it costs like 20 cents to start an Etsy shop, and that's because you have to have like one listing and it costs 20 cents for a listing. And then also with print on demand items, you are not purchasing the product until you get a sale. So you get a sale and then you send out like what you need to the third party and then they print it and send it for you. So that was really cool. And also my husband and I were living and traveling in our travel trailer at the time because we were both working remotely prior to that. And so I did not have the room to like make my own products and store them. So it worked out for a lot of reasons. But I will say, personally, I'm pretty like eco conscious and an under consumer. And I like to, like, that's like a big value of mine. So I feel like with print on demand items, a lot of them can be like one-time items. You get it on a bachelorette trip and it's like a cute little souvenir, but like you don't really use those items again, or just like t-shirts that say something like funny because it's like a joke, or I don't know. It's kind of like fast fashion realm. So it just didn't sit right completely with me, but I wanted to start with something and that was it. So, hey. Um, and overall, I actually was getting sales, which blew my mind at the time and still does because like it opened my eyes up to realizing like, oh wow, this is possible. Like if you start something and just really keep at it, sales will come and, things will happen. So that was really cool because I mean, I had like the fact that someone saw my item in my shop and amongst everything else listed on Etsy and was like, I want that. And then paid with their money me. I was like, this is so cool. So it was just, it was a really cool experience. Um, but and so while I was getting like sales here and there, it was not enough to basically create like a full-time income. I was probably making like $3 per transaction after all the fees and everything. And that just obviously, unless you're selling like, you know, tens of hundreds of shirts a day and then a week, whatever. Um, yeah, it just like wasn't sustainable. But again, I didn't really know what else to do. So I just kind of kept at it, kept making like different listings, different designs. And then while I did that, this is like so funny to think about because I do not have kids and I do not plan on having kids, but a lot of my friends were having kids at the time and still are. So I made a baby book and it's just like, I just look back and I'm like, what? But again, huge learning lesson. Definitely learned from that because obviously afterwards I tried selling it. I just felt almost like a phony, like selling it because I'm like, I don't even have kids. Like, what am I doing? Like, it just, I don't know. So it was just a huge lesson in just because an idea is a good one doesn't mean it's your idea to pursue. And as someone who has ideas just beaming from my brain at all times, that was a really good lesson because again, I have so many ideas that I think are really good ideas and I truly like I think they are, but they're not for me to pursue. Just because I think something is a good idea, it doesn't mean like I need to like absolutely take that on. I definitely learned this through this process that you have to be willing to live and die on the hill of your idea or your product in sales. And I was just not willing to do that with this product. It was just a really hard product for me to sell. I was just feeling like a phony or just this product isn't aligned with me. So I still have tons of those books. So still trying to sell them on the side here and there, but we'll see what happens with that. And then in between all of that, I also was selling items on eBay on the side. So just like old clothing items or just things that we had that we no longer needed. And again, same thing with like Etsy. I was just still surprised that I was getting sales. Also, same thing with Etsy though. It was not a like the profits were very small. So it's definitely something that I know people make money on. Like if I went like full fledged on eBay or even did the Etsy print on demand, like I know it's possible. Again, I just wasn't like wholeheartedly into it. And even now, I love thrifting. So I have thought about like, finding items and then reselling them on eBay because I definitely know there's business in that. But I don't know. I'm like, would that suck the fun out of thrifting if I'm always just like looking for like really expensive high-end items? Would it make it more fun? I don't know. But and then also just the idea of shipping items that potentially could break. So like non-clothing items, that kind of scares me a little bit dealing with like customer service and whatnot. So then pretty recently slash still kind of happening is furniture flipping, which I feel like everyone nowadays is at least dipping their toes into furniture flipping. I mean, as they should, because the profits definitely are much higher than like anything else I've mentioned or just like other types of side hustles. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of potential with furniture flipping. Some pros and cons of that are pros, obviously, higher profit margins. And also, I really learned like I am a pretty handy and creative person, which I never saw myself as like a creative or artsy person. But that was really cool to just kind of like dive into that. There's just so many different products and tools out there for furniture and just like the carpentry construction world. So that was kind of cool learning about that because also at this time, my husband and I, he's so sweet. My husband and I had bought a home from the 1970s and it looks like it was untouched, which I mean, I kind of love. But so we are doing some renovations and things like that. And so that was kind of cool to like learn those skills and then be able to kind of flow that into DIY projects in the home. And also, like, you can make some really amazing stuff with furniture. So now it's like when I go thrifting, I see these like beat up pieces of furniture and I'm like, oh, I could do something with that and make it really nice. So that's really cool. The cons though, I will say is it is obviously labor intensive, but I don't think you kind of really realize that. And that's okay with me, but if you're not like equipped right, so like I don't have anything where it's like I can prop the piece of furniture up on. So like I'm always bending down or just like I was doing this in my basement, so I have awful lighting. So I just felt like the working conditions were just not ideal. And so I would try and move the pieces of furniture outside where I could get like natural sunlight, but then I would have to bring them back inside and then also just buying and then selling the pieces like you're obviously moving the furniture and whatnot. So there was that. And then also the amount of chemicals you use. I don't know. I think that's definitely a personal thing. But, and I mean, you obviously take precautions and like proper PPE. Back to my nursing days. But you definitely take those precautions. But I just still felt like if I'm doing this on my own accord, like no one's making me do this, I don't know if that's like really what I want to be doing. So, and then lastly, I do think furniture flipping, the amount that you can sell it for really depends on your area. And I'll say with an asterisk, right? Because I feel like a lot of people you see on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube, and they're selling, let's say, a dresser for $800 or like anywhere upwards from $600 to like $1,200. I could not even try and touch that realm. And I will say I was putting out really good quality furniture. I know that my product was good. I just have a lot of really good furniture in my area. And so because the supply is so high and there's a lot of like great secondhand stores that just still have like great quality furniture at a really deep discount, it's very hard to sell really nice pieces at a premium. When I would sell a piece of furniture at a top price, it was from someone coming an hour away from a bigger city in my area. And because those people are willing to pay more. But again, the amount of people who are willing to drive over an hour to get a nice piece of furniture definitely limits your clientele. So I was finding that was happening a lot and it would just yeah, so a lot of items would just sit for a longer time than I wanted. So yeah, so that was a little bit of a hindrance, but I don't want to discourage anyone if they are in not a city or like a big suburb of a city area because I do think had I pursued it and kept going with it and tried to make it like my full-time thing, I think my name would have gotten out there and then people would refer me and I could start doing like local farmers markets and putting my name out there. And so there's definitely ways to promote yourself and market even if you're in maybe a tougher area. I just wasn't willing to do that because I had a great time furniture flipping, but I just knew it was, again, like a stepping stone to get me to where I wanted to be. Okay. And then lastly, and most recently, my husband and I took on buying a townhome and remodeling it. So flipping. We had wanted to do this for years. Like this was like a bucket list item kind of thing. I don't know, we just had this push to just go for it. And so we found this property. It's not like a complete overhaul, where this house was like needed to completely be gutted and whatnot. Like it was in really good shape. It just definitely needed cosmetic updates. So we were just like, the time is now. Like, I don't know. We just felt like it was like the perfect home to try out house flipping because we didn't know if house flipping like was our calling. And you'll never know until you try it. So we tried it, and that is what we did all like spring and summer this past year, and on top of our full-time jobs. Also, yes, I think I didn't mention that somewhere in this I started to get really, really stressed about finances because everything that I was doing was amounting to a little bit, but not a lot. I thought I could make the furniture flipping like a full time profit, but once I realized like I just wasn't able to do that, I sought out some jobs. And so I did find an admin job that I can do remotely. And so that took a ton of stress off of our plates. But I'm still able to like pursue, something in the meantime. So, yes, we were both working full-time jobs and then doing this after our full-time job and then on the weekends and stuff. And again, so many pros to this. There were so many lessons and skills that we learned, a lot of lows though. Like it was definitely tough. It was mentally, physically, obviously. And so, I mean, we did it ourselves. We only subcontracted out some electrical stuff. Also, my father in law, is a retired carpenter. So we had an immense amount of help. And also, my dad was helping with like painting and things like that. So, but we really did everything ourselves and learned so much. Again, after that process, really kind of was able to take a step back and reflect and be like, I don't think I want to do this full time. And I'm just so proud of us for doing for doing it because of so many reasons. But at least now we're not being like, should we do it? Should we? Because you know what? That whole spring and summer, we would have constantly been looking at Zillow listings and being like, let's just flip a house. We should just flip a house. Like, and so now we were actually doing it. And now we just have the experience to go back on and be like, would we want to do it again? And I think we do want to do it again, maybe like a few other times, but not as like a full time thing, at least not doing it ourselves, a full time thing. And financially, we're just not there to be able to subcontract out, people to paint, people to do tile work, things like that. We would just still have to be doing it ourselves at this point, and I'm not ready to do that again. But the hands down biggest takeaway from flipping that townhome was it gave me the confidence to start creating content. And this has been something that I've been wanting to do for years as well. I mean, I tried like blogs back in the day, and like there's always been this like lingering feeling of me wanting to put content out there. I just didn't really know like how or like what to talk about, or and I'm still trying to figure that out a little bit, but at least now I'm just starting. And truly, before flipping that house, I was still stuck with content creation. I was still just like, I just like don't know what I would talk about, or didn't have the confidence that I had any valuable information to talk about. But now I'm just like, I actually do. I just have so much life experience that I just want to share and put out there. And that alone right now is good enough for me. And I'm so excited about it. And so it really did give me the confidence to start. So here I am. And so I hope this video has provided you with some inspiration to maybe pursue some side hustles or just get going, because honestly, that is where things just start falling into place. And I will say, while yeah, like the Etsy shop, eBay selling, the baby book, like though even furniture flipping, house flipping, those things are not what I wanna do and pursue full time. It has led me to content creation, and it has led me to being like, "I'm actually going to put my all into this," and I just know I wouldn't be doing this had I not like stumbled through all of those steps beforehand. And it is very frustrating sometimes when you're in those things and you're just like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, especially if those are things that you chose willingly to do yourself, like no one's making you do them. But you just never know until you try them and you learn like, oh, I do like these aspects of this thing, but I don't like this and I don't want to pursue this anymore. Or it also shows you if you want to pursue something, like you just got to stick with it. Like I know that content creation will happen for me. I really feel it like in my bones, but I just know it's going to take a long time. Like it's going to take hopefully not too long, but I mean it could be years, and that's the reality of starting something from ground zero. Like there's just that's just kind of how it works. And so I really hope this has inspired you to just start something, whatever your heart is like pulling you to or your gut is pulling you to, just start with that because it's going to lead you somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else. And finally, you will end up where like you're like, "Oh, this is where I'm supposed to be right now." And all those places that you're not supposed to be maybe long term, like you're supposed to be there short term at least. Okay, I think I've rambled on enough. I hope this was helpful and see you next time. Bye.